Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am your host with the most, Phil Better, the podcast mogul himself, coming at you live from the Phil Better studios. It's an amazing day. You are, of course, listening to or viewing Invest in Yourself, the podcast series where I help you grow, monetize, and learn from other podcasters. Today's episode is whether or not to live stream, the pros, the cons, and all that fun stuff. So let's get on with the show. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the deal. As you know, I live stream multiple shows, and I thank you very much for showing up. If you're showing up live, hashtag live. If you're showing up on the replay, hashtag replay, because that's what we want to know. We want to know whether you're watching live or if you're watching on the replay. So make sure you hit those comments, and I thank you so much for all the love. So yeah, we're going to talk about live streaming, the pros for live streaming, the cons for live streaming, and all that fun in between. So as you know, I run multiple podcasts. I have the Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, Invest in Yourself, the podcast series. I have the Phil Better Show. I have the Real Boys. I also do the Stock Dirty to Me podcast. And all of them except for one are live streamed. The reason why one of them isn't is because I want it to be the best. And that's Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. It's the first podcast, the second podcast, actually, I started back in November. And I wanted to learn how to be an entrepreneur. That's why I started the show. I am currently shifting it over. So if you do search for it, you will have issues. I'm shifting over to a different host because the current host is giving me some issues. So if you look for them, there will be, you'll hear a message saying that it's no longer available. The reason is because I'm changing hosts. But anyways, I don't live stream that podcast strictly because I love to have an informal conversation without any pressure from the audience, and the guest needs to be relaxed. And obviously, trying to live stream 21 episodes and figuring out times with other entrepreneurs, it's very hard. So that's why I don't live stream it. I do it off air and strictly that. I will occasionally maybe do a live episode. I don't know. I haven't decided that, but I love the fact that I get to do it at pretty much all hours of the day to help these entrepreneurs out, or on the weekends. The reason why people live stream is because they want that interaction with fans. It's in essence, you're having your own TV show. Everybody can interact with you, but it's an interactive TV show because you have the comments that can pop up on screen. As you know, Adam is always one of the most amazing followers and viewers. He's always commenting, so I want to thank Adam there. That is a benefit of live. You can interact with your fans. However, if you're not comfortable behind the mic, or you're not comfortable knowing that there's hundreds of people watching you, or there's going to be no one watching you because you're just starting out, then you don't have to live stream. But you can still use live streaming products to help you along. There are thousands of products out there. I personally use StreamYard. You can use Restreamio, like my buddy Aaron from Horror with So Sturdy. You can even use Zoom. Twitch, you can live stream on Twitch if you want. There are thousands of platforms for you. There's benefits to everything. I know my buddy Mick Manhattan from the Scene Snobs, he live streams his show, and a lot of other people are starting to live stream their show on Facebook because that's where you can get audience retention and people can listen to you. However, you have to remember you still need to promote the audio version of your show afterwards, because there are going to be people who may or may not have time to watch you live. They want to watch you on the replay. So that's why you ask them the hashtag replay when you're doing your live show. But also, they may be wanting to watch your show while they're out running, or maybe they're cooking dinner. They want this entertainment. So having a live show may lose listeners if you don't put out the audio. So I always recommend put out the audio, because if you're a podcaster, podcasting started with audio. It wasn't a video, it was audio only. So if you want to stay true to the industry, you make sure you put out that audio clip. Now, the cons to it, it's nerve-wracking. I'm just telling you now. Doing a live show every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You have to put in those promotions so that you can get more people to come follow you and watch you on your show. It's nervous because people are watching you, and if you make a mistake, you may feel embarrassed. You may have that, oh my God, I can't believe I made that mistake type feel. So I always advise people start off recording without an audience. Don't even live stream because don't want that pressure on you. Learn how to control your voice on the mic, learn how to use all the systems, all the fun gadgets and toys you may have purchased before you start live streaming. But when you start live streaming, relax and enjoy it. Remember, this is your time to shine. This is your show, so you can do anything you want. If you want, you can end the show early, you can start it early. This is your time to shine, but you need to be consistent with your live stream. Because if your audience that knows that you're going to be live every day at a certain time, or every Tuesday or every Wednesday, every Thursday at a certain time, and you're not, you're going to lose the audience. It's the same thing what happens when you launch your podcast with consistency. Live streaming, podcasting, anything you do, you need to keep that consistency. Now, I had a great interview with an amazing podcaster who monetizes podcasts. His name was Sean. Give me 2 seconds. I don't want to mess up his name because he was an amazing guest. Yes, Sean Douglas. Sean Douglas of the Grow Monetize Your Podcast fame. Thank you for the love with the thumbs up. Always love to see it. If I don't see my brother, Mr. Richard Kaufman, an amazing podcaster. Sorry, I'm going to keep that up. Who has a podcast called Vertical Momentum. And he was a guest on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur, for season 5. So look out for that. Always a great guy. Always out helping. He's the comeback coach himself. Make sure you listen to that episode because he drops an amazing story about how he came up with the comeback coach. It is by far my favorite way someone learned how to brand themselves, and I'm quite jealous about how he did it. But again, live streaming there's an art to it, because even I'm learning how to do this even every week. You have to come up with assets. Like when I do Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur podcast. No, I can't show you a screen now. All right, give me a second. I'm going to jump off. You're going to see the background. This is something not many people have seen before. So there we go. So as you saw, that is a little snippet. That's the background. That's of the podcast. So when I have guests come on, they have that. So you're going to need that. You also may need overlays. As you see, here's an overlay. I don't have an overlay yet, but this is live with StreamYard. So you can have that. You need to have those in place so that you can look more official. But is it necessary? Yes, no, it depends. Because it really all depends on what you feel. If you're comfortable going live and knowing people are watching you and probably going to be judging you for maybe the mistakes you made, maybe if you're running a podcast that's about movies and you make you make the wrong tidbit or trick, or you say something wrong and people are like, you don't know anything about movies. If you have that fear, don't live stream, because it's not worth the aggravation, the anxiety. So stick to off-air interviews, because then you can always edit and remove stuff, so that you can always feel better about yourself. I'm someone that loves being in front of a crowd, loves talking, loves just being everywhere, and having as many eyeballs on me as possible. So I live stream. For the entrepreneurs, I choose not to live stream that show because it takes a lot of work, because I have to do a lot of research for the show. Like my buddy Lou Mav said yesterday, always research. So if you're not researching your guests, that's a big problem. I know I have an episode about guests. You can check that out on my Facebook page, or if you go into the Facebook group, Better Podcasting Growth Group, you can watch the replays and learn how to get those amazing guests and some tips I have for you on that. Overall, live streaming is a lot of fun. It's great because you can interact with your audience when they comment, and you can be sure that they are having fun as well, because they're seeing you in your glory, if you will, and you're throwing that authenticity out there. And that's what a lot of people are looking for now with their entertainment. They're looking for the authenticity. And if you're providing proper authenticity, like you're showing them that the true blue 100% who you are. Like you see me sweating, like I'm sweating like a person who just ran a marathon. But I didn't run a marathon. I just got up from my couch to sit here. That's all. But live streaming is fun because of the interaction you can have with your fans. It's easy to grow your audience because people are seeing you're consistently there and they're going to keep coming. The live show that I do for the stock market group, Stock Dirty to Me, we started off with like barely anybody watching, and we are in our 10th week, I think, and we're already up to like 50 members watching us every week. And then the videos get reviewed about 1,000 times afterwards. So it's really, there is beneficial. I've noticed an increase in the subscribers to the audio version of the podcast, Stock Dirty to Me, which will be launching on Apple Podcasts very soon. But yeah, it's a little nerve wracking. There is some stress involved when you're live streaming, because if you don't have a producer handling all the the keeping up with the banners. We don't have any banners here, but for some of my other podcasts, you follow the host, Phil Better Podcast at investinyourself.com. Those things, like, you have to remember to do all this, but if you have a producer handling it, it's a lot easier, or you have someone else handling it for you. It makes life a little easier for you, and you don't have to stress so much about making sure you get all the digital assets ready. And so that's one of the things you have to remember when you're podcasting is those digital assets. You have to make sure you're taking care of everything else, because if you're not, your show won't look that good. I keep things very simple here. This is a podcast for beginners, so I don't want to show you all this amazing stuff and then you're like, but I don't have the ability to do that. I want to show you how you can grow your podcast, how you can really make every step of the way. And I hope you guys are enjoying it and learning from it. But my overall suggestion for you in live streaming, if you're starting out and you've never never talked in front of a class, never gave a speech, never did any drama, never had to present something and weren't nervous, stay away from the live streaming until you're comfortable behind the microphone. Because if you're not comfortable behind the microphone, it's going to show, and the people in front of you, your audience, is going to notice. They're going to be disappointed and feel kind of like let down, and you don't want to let down your fans. That's the last thing you want to do. You never want to let down your fans. So I would say stay away from live streaming unless you're comfortable to know that you're going to be critiqued. But mainly your fans and family are probably not going to critique you that much, but just know that there's a chance of critiqueness if you make mistakes. But the plus side, you get to interact with your fans. You get to have this intimate relationship that you don't get with a regular podcast. There's thousands of ways of growing your podcast through live streaming, or a vodcast, if you will, because that's what the current term is being used for video podcasts. It's a vodcast. You can check them out on Twitch. There's a lot of people who just sit down and talk with their audience, and they just share their passion, they share their love with their audience, and they grow it that way, and they get monetized by Twitch, or you can get on Facebook Gaming. There's thousands of ways through live streaming that you can use to be a better person, and not just a better person, but a better podcaster, because it teaches you to think on your feet, teaches you how to roll with the punches, and certainly teaches you how to be confident, because that's something really you need when you're live streaming. You need to be confident. You need to be sure of who you are and what you do, because if you're not confident in your podcasting skills or behind the mic or anything like that, people may not trust you. They may not take you seriously. They may not believe the authority that you have. And that is important when you're a podcaster. You want to have that authority, especially if you're doing a business podcast, or you want to be taken seriously as a podcaster. You need to be able to show the authority through your voice and live on screen. So if you're watching this live, make sure you type in the comments #live. If you're watching the replay, #replay. I want to know what you guys think. Do you think it's a good idea to live stream your podcast? Do you think it's not a good idea because you don't have that ability to edit? There's another thing. When you're live streaming, you can't edit. So if you make a mistake, it's there forever. You can edit the audio version afterwards, but live on screen, live in front of your audience. Everybody can see. If you're live streaming to YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, everybody can see those mistakes. And is that something that you want? Now, I personally don't mind because, hey, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But some people may not enjoy it. Hashtag live. Thank you so much, Facebook user. If you are watching this, you do need to give permission to StreamYards to post your name. So I'm just going to take a quick look in here. Oops. Hi, Tracy. Oh, my favorite person in all the world, my co-host with the most from one of my amazing podcasts. Thank you very much for tuning in, darling. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I do want to leave before we leave, where this is going to be a short show. There's not much really to say. Live streaming can bring you value, it can bring you revenue, and it can bring you a lot of stuff. But more importantly, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching, everybody who listens to my content. I just found out yesterday, and I made a post about it, so make sure you check out my Facebook. But 3 of the podcasts that I produce are a top 10 in the top 10% of podcasts worldwide. For you to understand what that means, there are over 2 million podcasts out there. My podcast, The Phil Better Show, and Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, and The Real Boys all rank in the top 10% of podcasts. That means that out of all those 2 million podcasts, we represent, I think it's like 200,000 or something like that. Like, I'm in that I am part of that group, a huge group. Out of 2 million, I'm in the top 10 in the world. But more importantly, I'm more excited about this. My amazing friend, amazing client, and awesome entrepreneur, money mentor himself, Lloyd Ross's podcast, the Money Grows on Trees podcast, is a top 3% podcast. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, his podcast is nearly in the 1%. We're only 2% away, and we're going to get it, because that's the goal, to make sure that his podcast is one of the top rated podcasts in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in getting your podcast top of the charts like Lloyd, or even in the top 3%, or even top 10% of the world, make sure you come see the Phil Better Inc. company. Schedule a free call. Just go to philbetterinc.com, schedule a free 30-minute call to see whether or not I can help you grow your podcast. I definitely can. Or if you want to start a podcast, I'll be more than happy to help you along the way and give you some advice. I am looking forward to all the amazing stuff that's coming forward. We have great stuff planned in October for the Invest in Yourself brand. I have amazing shows on the weekend. Guys, I am so thankful to be able to podcast nearly for a living soon, hoping soon to have a full-time podcasting gig. But I want to thank everyone who tunes in every weekday, every week, and consumes my content, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to have gotten a sponsor for season 3 of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I wouldn't be able to have gotten the opportunities I have if it wasn't for you guys. So I want to thank you so much for listening to my content, tuning in, being interactive on Facebook and Instagram. And I just want to say, you guys rock and keep it up. And I know for a fact, the more you invest in yourself, the better you'll become, because it took me 6 years of investing in myself to get a top 10% podcast. But it only took me 3 months to get Lloyd into that position. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am Phil Better. This is Invest in Yourself, the podcast series on the Podcast Mogul. And all the way from Montreal in the Phil Better studios, I am wishing you a great day, a fabulous week, and just remember to always invest in yourself.